Right. Right. Let's look at hacking. Right. Giants hidden of the past, Bible. I might not spell that right. Yeah, I've got to work it up bloody early. First of all, let's get this out of the way. The evidence in Nephilium and what they call the giants mixed with the human individuals. I mean, this is years ago. I've got to find that video. I've got to show you where to find it. It's worth a watch. Right. It is worth a watch. It was really hits home actually because of the history I know, reference to the Bible and the religious upbringing I had. So I've gone live just briefly as I'm resting up in bed because I didn't get any sleep. I think I might have got 3 hours sleep. It's all by design what's going on anyway. So I've got interference from the internet. I'm not sure this is turned up. So there's any feedback, it's just a hacking that goes on. There's a bigger picture to this. Just checking. Right. Okay, let's go back and see if I can find that video. It's fascinating. I haven't listened to it all, it's just half listening to it. Watching the origins from the biblical times. Now the Illuminati, they don't really call it devil, they call it Lucifer. I knew this was ancient history from my religious upbringing, and I knew the teachings I had as a kid growing up and what I know from the versions of my Mormon upbringing was implying from in their version of scriptures. They've got pictures of Far East, Middle East. Now I could see if I could find the video I was watching, because it links up to, I mean, apart from you got the demonic, the gang stalking, the New World Order. There's a lot more. There's a reason why all this is going on. For those that are in this, I've got to find it. I might be on a different channel actually when I was watching it. Now the implants, this advancement in technology, implants in the human body, truth in plain sight, excellent video. And somebody else, Big Boss, he's done a really good video on Joshua, you know, God. Yeah, I think I'm quite on a different channel. I've got a backup channel. So let me see if I can get that up. I'm not sure if I can log into it. Not without password. No, I can't log into that channel. I will get it on my phone. 23, and I'm bad because my nerves are shot anything. About the shape shifting. Here we go. See if I can do a search for the actual channel on this. There's a lot of people coming in. So I'm going to do a search on the name of this channel. And I'm going to point people where to go and watch it and stuff. if I can find it. My head, I'm just absolutely very poorly today, so I'm having to lay in bed. Right, I found it. Just got to find the right video. It's I think he's in Israel. Yeah, 3 years ago. It shows the map. A born-again Christian, Doc, I can't pronounce the last name. He was raised as a member of the Illuminati and reveals mind-blowing information. The rare interview, a former member of the Illuminati, exposes the origins of society, and he covers everything I've known for years, but couldn't really make the pieces fit together. So I'm going to screen share this in a minute. I've half watched it. It's excellent video.
Have you ever wondered?
If you want to be a member of the Mormons, then fine. There's a reason why they wear the black and white. The Illuminati used in the 15th century, well, it's beyond that. It's beyond the biblical periods, you know. So let me get into that. And I'm going to subscribe to this channel because it really is a lot, makes sense for a lot of people. But the channel, I think I'm not sure the language. A lot of people are writing, I think that could be Hebrew language, but I don't know the terminology. Right, but where's the screen share? It doesn't matter anymore. You know, they like to create the fear. They attack you in your dreams, your sleep, and everything else in the day. And I tell you, it's just ridiculous. It's demonic. Right, now I'm screen sharing this channel. Right. This is the title of the video. And this is a YouTube channel. I'll get into their about page. A blog about religion and philosophy. Oh, right. That's interesting. So, oh, they've got a website. That's interesting. See, it comes up. Hebrew English. Okay. I need English. Get this working.
Doc, I wanted to talk to you because you claim to be a former Illuminati member.
It's bad. This. Alright. First of all, be careful about this one. False prophecies.
Things that people do in this world
We didn't get our eyes open.
What he's got is the sun piercing down there. That's the sun projection. And he claims there's spirit orbs flying around. No, it's not. It's nanoparticulates. There's a lady in America that's wrote about him and it's passed down. And yeah. So I'm not going to show that. Go back. I can't go back on that one. This is the one I'm showing. Get rid of them. Today, a born-again Christian guy called D.O.C. is a doctor who was raised as a member of the Illuminati, believes a mind-blowing information about the deep roots traced to early ancient equity of the faith and values that form the basis of the Illuminati society. Okay. In his lecture, the Doc Marquez reveals the hidden secret behind between the Illuminati ancient giants, the Nephilim, okay, that are mentioned in the Bible and on their correlation to Satan, or in his other name, Lucifer. Help translate this video to your language, and which already done. That is just one of things going on in the world for a long time. He's been on interviews about his information. He sadly passed away back in 2018, the individual. Okay. But the information is still relevant. And there's someone in the chat 3 years ago, this video comments. Robert Waldo was a real man from a hometown in Alton, LA. His nickname was the Gentle Giant. We had everything specially made. So that giant, one of the pictures in that video shows a giant. There was a statue of him along College Street. I believe a man, that giant that shows in this video, died then in 2018. But everyone who visits the statue to see how tall he was and took pictures only went up his mid-thigh as an adult. Right. I'm just listening to the evidence of the attacks on me during the night. I've got audio recording evidence. Right. Education purpose only. Disclaimer. Right, Murray. You just text me. Just check my, right. So Murray, on Sunday at 10 to 3, just text me in England, 29th, 5th, 2021. If you're really, I am really having censorship on this internet. I said, you try and get in on my YouTube channel and stream at night. Right, let's go back to the video. I'm not going to speak on the phone. You can't get into my internet. Right. What you doing, big brother? You go.
And now you are not.
God be praised. No, I'm a born again Christian now.
Oh, that's great. And so, how did you get into it? How did you get out of it?
Let me just.
Okay, I could take a week explaining all the details, but I know we haven't got that long. You see, I was raised in a family that was in the order of the Illuminati. At the time that I became a member, I was a seventh generation witch at the time in the order of the Illuminati. See, my family's background goes all the way back to 1789 in the Illuminati. So, my family has a long history in this, and I think what amazes me the most about when people think about this is that they think like in, let's say like in Israel, everyone's born in a Jewish family, or in America, everyone's raised in a Christian family. But that's not the truth. When we look at, other religions of the world, we know here in America, you have families that go back centuries. And here in America, we have families that go back centuries. And here in America, we have families who Santeria, Palamyamba, and other things. It's not unusual for someone like me to be born into a family of witches, but in this case, yeah, it's the Illuminati.
And if you're a member of the Illuminati, you need to keep this in secret. Like
Let me go.
in school, you don't tell people.
Oh,
There you go.
same way it happened the first time.
No, not that one. Get off the channel.
Well, 40 nations that had giants in them. Now, one of the most understood and common one.
So, get off. Fucking hell. Excuse my bluntness, this is a hacking goes on.
Look, I wanted to talk to you because you claim to be a former Illuminati.
So the policies could be undone at that point.
What?
Paul,
Yeah, something. Everybody who believes get into it slowly.
So now, this is a map of ancient Canaan. Okay, and according to what we know.
Don't stop messing me about with my bloody computer, will you?
No, that was Jesus Christ.
So, this is what I remember studying Israel during Joshua's time, Jesus' time. And the maps I've got talks about, you got Jerusalem, it's all the Middle East areas. It talks about the Luciferian and the giants around this area. The bloodline in DNA in families Illuminati, generational as well. Fascinating. I'll take it Mary doesn't want to come in. I'll take it Mary doesn't want to come in. I'll take it Mary doesn't want to come in. Hacking my phone, as usual. But anyway. I'm just going to say what the text says, right? Won't say what information used. Just seeing your messages on Discord. Who's trying to get in this block at 3 o'clock? Just seeing your message in Discord, guessing you'd rather sleep than have a quick chat. Hope you get sleep. Sorry to hear you all night. If you think talking will help, just ring. I'm not going to ring him. He's not bothered about me. I said, I'm bedbound and yet awake. We look into giants of the Nephilim, i.e. links in the DNA of humans. I'm liking my channel. See if you can get in. They're doing monitoring. No, I won't be here. How convenient. Right, so here you go.
It was
This is a scary place when it gets.
Lucifer was going to try to stop the prophecy of Jesus Christ being born, because the prophecies make it very clear Jesus Christ being God would ultimately defeat Satan himself. This is why he was trying to prevent the prophecy from coming true. In the Illuminati, it is taught you can stop just one prophecy of God, that God can't be God. And so the rest of the prophecies could be undone at that point.
So they do learn the Bible.
Oh, they know it, but that's not to say they believe it.
Okay.
You know, they were going to try to stop Christ from being born. But you know as well as I do, Christ came about no matter what these people had tried. Now, let's go back over here and let me begin showing you other things. As I said before, when we take a look at the scriptures very carefully, we can find very easily the difference between
the
giants and human beings. Over here is a 6-foot tall human being. Okay? Is a 6-foot tall human being. Okay? The tallest you can get compared to a human being. Look at the difference. That is absolutely astounding.
How much? Yeah, let's say 6 times more than a normal.
Almost 7, actually.
Wow.
Because this goes up to 36. They're actually up to 40 feet in height, according to the Bible. Now, there were those who are trying to say giants were up to 400 feet. But there's nothing in the Bible that states that. They go to books outside of the Bible, such as Enoch, to base it on. And even then, the books of Enoch do not say how tall they were. They give a unit of measurement that no one knows how short or how tall that is. Some people try to say, well, it means this, so the giant said, no, that's not good research, let alone that's not evidence. You know how I work, Ivan, I go with the facts and I show you the evidence.
Okay.
I don't, but the
This is
remains,
where you
and
can
I'm going to
watch
show
the
you
channel then
the proof
is
of what I'm talking about here. Let me just start over here. Now this, I'm going to show you the archaeological remains, the skeletal remains of some of these giants. Can you see this all right?
Yes.
Now look at this giant here. This is just his head alone. And you can see the rest of the body slowly being unearthed by this archaeologist here. This giant was almost 20 feet long.
But is this real? Like,
Yes.
why
Oh, yeah.
nobody talks about it? Why, like?
Because there is, if you want to use the word, a cover-up or conspiracy to hide the truth about the giants. Because if we pull out the giants and show the actual evidence, like I'm able to do, well, then the yeah, well, it's the same thing with Noah's Ark. We know
this is Noah's Ark
side of
part.
the mountain of Ararat. We've got satellite images also, but Russia and Turkey.
So what he says about the Noah's Ark buying a Western place is in Russia combined with Turkey, the actual land, and apparently he says that no Christians or archaeologists has been able to go over there, and the front of the Ark, Noah's Ark, and the rear, the biblical length, and it shows the outlines of the Noah's Ark. Evidence one step closer to Noah's Ark final Western place on earth, or the Great Flood says in the Bible. It makes reference to Genesis and Revelations chapter 13 in the King James Bible. And it's fascinating by the way he describes it as a former Illuminati member. He says he was raised in it through he was a witch in the Illuminati, and his family bloodline, raised within it. And he got out and explains when he got out and how he's been careful not to actually. He's born again Christian basically, and he goes into that. This individual being interviewed. I put the channel link. You can see the website where you can find out more. So, the origins of society, of Earth, really. Now, mixing the human DNA with, I suppose people will call it fallen angels. People also makes reference to the Book of Enoch, mixing the fallen angels, really the demonic, with the fair women on earth, and have created he goes into quite in depth actually. It's a fascinating watch just to get your bearings and look at the world we are now. You see, where would all this advancement and technology come from, where we are today, and the future? Because really what they're letting out in the public domain on technology is more like the hidden technology is more like, say, 50 or 100 years ahead, maybe. I'm just saying maybe, because I'm fully aware of the underground dumbs and the Mara labs and military black ops and a lot of these experiments on the brain started back in the 17, 1800s. There's a really good documentary called Children of Men. Excellent information over the years. Evidence of how this technology is being used and all the purpose, why it's being used, and yeah, So there's two parallel worlds. You got those that are not the DNA line of the Cain bloodline, and you got the other bloodline of Dan, really biblical side of things. So obviously, I'm target individuals basically being set out and set up on things they haven't done, are not easily falling for the dark side. And yes, we all got our faults, but I wouldn't dream half the things that's being done to the world, let alone to individuals, let alone to innocent animals, kids, you name it. So therefore, I get singled out, especially around here. And it's been going on all my life. And apparently somebody also made a video that apparently were chosen from birth. So it fits in line with the history. And here we are today in this individual mates in the yeah, it's like a zombie world, but it's not in that regard. I knew the blocking people coming in my chat because I could see it. Blocking people coming in my chat because I could see it. Blocking people coming in my chat because I could see it. Blocking people coming. Yeah. And it's like when we use technology on the digital world. Do you know, it's so much. I'm going to turn this off and on because I'm hacking into my phone. But anyway, I'm going to see the background in a moment. Because I need a drink. I need the tonic. Well, not literally like that because I can't move my muscles. Radiation all night, all night. Well, obviously not. He's not got in. So awake. It's not that warm outside, it's cold outside. Everyone's got their muscles and nerves dark. Just being burnt alive.
The governments, where that's their property, they refuse to allow Christians to go there and excavate it. Why? Well, Turkey and Russia don't believe in God, do they? Like Christianity, do they?
I guess, yeah.
If we were actually able to take out Noah's Ark and show the world, it would prove God exists and God is right. We would have a whole change in our morality at that point.
Or at least that the Bible is right.
Yeah, and that would go strictly against the plans of the Illuminati to set up a new world order, wouldn't it?
And sorry about this uneducated question. Can you take a DNA from something like that? Is this a stone or a ball?
Wait, see, this is what we're trying to do. All I can tell you at this point is I'm on the verge of a major find. And among other things, yes, if the evidence is, shall we say, the way we can, it's going to be, among other things, we may be able to extract DNA shall we say, the way we can, it's going to be, among other things, we may be able to extract not have a double helix. I think they had a triple helix. You see, the double helix covers all the information to create a human construct. Everything that's needed is put into two different strands. There's enough space there in two strands to make a human construct, but there's not enough to make a triple. I think because of the size of the giant, the extra fingers, the extra toes, the triple teeth, the huge skeletal frames, muscles, ligaments, cartilage, tendons, so on and so forth. I believe, medically speaking, they had to have a triple helix to build the type of construct it would take to create a giant.
Okay.
Did you know there is a natural way to regrow teeth and gums that only 3% of the population even knows about? Scientists at the National Institute of...
Okay.
You know, let me show you. Let me take you through a couple of others, okay? Just to prove to you that these things are being found. This particular giant here that was being unearthed was 15 feet. 15. That's 2.5 times taller than the 6-foot man. Who could fight against something like that and win?
That's my biggest question. So you said there were million like them in some point. How did they not conquer the earth? Like, how did they not?
God. Easy enough.
I remember.
I mean, this is the back of the box top of a railroad train. This is a back. And look at how tall
It's
the
huge.
remains of this mummified giant is.
Amazing.
This one, let me show you one more in particular. Well, let me show you two more. Hold on, because this is important. I want you to really see this. This here was a man who was digging his backyard,
Okay.
and he unearthed this bone. Now, let me show you the importance of this, because that bone is
There
part.
you go. Genesis 6:4.
Oops, hold on.
1950s.
Medically speaking, this is the
They
femur
found that.
bone. It's the bone that connects
In
you to the
Turkey.
hip down to the tibia. Down here. Your average tibia is about 10, 11 inches long. Okay, right around there. This one,
Read the article. This giant stood some 14, 16 feet, 22 to 20-inch long feet. Wow. There were Nephilims, giants on the earth in those days. And after that, when the sons of God, angels, came to, it describes this in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verses 4.
47 inches long, almost 4 feet in length.
Amazing.
This giant stood, if we compare it to an average sized human being, somewhere around 15, 16 feet. This bone, is in right here, the Mount Blanco Fossil Museum in Texas. Now, look at this one here.
Whoa.
These giants stood about 40 feet in height.
10 to
I mean, look at how big that man's head compared to this one. That one's about 8 times bigger than his.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, Goliath and David.
Well, Goliath was a small giant. He was 9.5 feet tall.
But still, it was...
Yeah. Well,
was
again, 9.5 feet tall.
intimidating. Yeah,
It's not intimidating. It's scary.
yeah.
Now look at this here. These were double-headed axes that
Look at
was
that.
found. Okay? Now, just to give you a perspective on this, let me show you this next picture just to show you how big this is. This double-headed axe stands around 10 to 11 feet. It's in the Baghdad Museum. What human being, if it's a normal human being, would create such gigantic weapons? You could never pick them up and wield them, could you?
Yeah, I guess people would say it for decoration or something.
For what? What decoration has ever been made like this?
Yeah.
No, that doesn't make sense. But what we do know, and again, let me show you something here if you find it interesting. Here's an X-ray of
Five.
what it is
6 fingers.
like, a hand of a giant.
It's
You
an
see it?
X-ray from something they found, or it's like Photoshop.
Like what?
Photoshop, like somebody.
Oh, no, it's not Photoshop. This is real. I can tell you by examining the carpals, the metacarpals, and the phalanges myself. This is exactly as it should be.
Okay.
Yeah. Now there are some people nowadays.
I cannot, you know, the number 6 in the fingers. It's immediately drops me for the prophecy, you know.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 18. Here was wisdom. Let him who hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it's the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, there are some people that still carry the recessive G of the giants in them.
And there are still people who are very tall, right?
Yeah. Look at this person. 6 fingers on each hand. 6 fingers on each hand. There are people that, as I said, that are outrageously tall. Like this man here.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Robert Waglaw. Before he died, he was standing 8 feet 9 inches tall, just an inch shy of 9 feet. Now he died because of an infection, but the doctor said if he didn't die, he would have kept growing.
Oh wow, wow.
Yeah, he would have kept growing. How tall he would have gotten, I don't know.
But usually those humans today who are getting so tall, they are died very young, right?
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't see a pattern with it. But this is his father, who himself was 6 feet tall, from what I understand. And this is Robert himself, compared with the size of his dad. Just look at his feet.
And look
The
at his
shoes
hands.
compare-
The hands
Yeah.
are huge.
They're massive. You know, but again, there's plenty of archaeological.
The crazy loophole where you just do 4 hours of work and it generates a new income stream that keeps paying you forevermore. How good does that sound? Well, the thing about most ways to make money online is that you have to do lots and lots of work, but there's only one of you. So when I came across a strategy where I could do 4 hours of work once, and then that work paid off again and again and again, redo that work, but I kept being able to make more sales.
Evidence to demonstrate giants really existed. There's one particular belief. You've heard of Darius the Mede, right?
I'm not so good in history.
Okay. Well, he lived in ancient Persia.
Daryavish.
Yeah. Oh, Darius.
Daryavish. I guess. Okay.
This is a belief of Darius. This is Darius himself, right?
Mhm.
These are the soldiers he captured. And these are some of his soldiers behind him. See, the ancient records state that Darius himself was a giant. So, because especially when we look at Darius compared to them, Darius, if the stories are true, stood somewhere between 9 to 10 feet in height.
And that's not the only case we can see giants in ancient pictures, right? Not pictures, drawing.
Well, this is a relief. This is a relief. It was carved into the stone. You know, but there are ancient drawings, petroglyphs, and other things that will prove that there were giants. There's one particular, let me see if I have it here quickly. Giants. Well, here is one from England, okay? You've heard of the stories of Merlin and King Arthur, right?
No, I'm sorry.
In England, you never heard of the ancient stories of King Arthur and the Round Table?
King Arthur, yes.
Right. And his magician was Merlin.
Okay.
Well, according to the ancient stories, Merlin, with the help of giants, built Stonehenge.
Really?
You know those stone circles?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me show you Stonehenge.
Actually, no one can explain how they built it, right?
I
No,
can.
yeah, but I mean, no scientific.
This is Stonehenge.
That makes sense if it
Interesting.
was.
Yeah. Now, there was more than
Stonehenge is
1,000 of
London.
these stone circles throughout England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, you know, the British Isles.
I would like to
There's
hear
a-
more about it.
You know, and, well, just a couple of other quick examples. Let me show you some, okay? Sorry that I have to do it like this, but this really is...
I thought that Stonehenge is the only one.
No. Hold on a second. Right here is another one. It's known as Stonehenge. You can see the remains of the stones all around it, okay? This is 2 miles in circumference.
Yeah, I can see
2
it.
miles. Yeah, 2 miles. Now let's go to this next one. Can you see this one okay?
Yes.
This one is known as Fright Stone Circle. Okay, let's go to, let's skip these next couple. Let's go to this one here. Hold on a second. This one is known as the Merry Maids. This is in Cornwall.
Really?
This has 19 stones around it.
Wow, that's from my
There's
area.
another one in the area known as Tasselby, right here.
Yeah.
Go here. This was in
Wow.
this is in the Isle of Lewis.
That's very
It's
similar to the
It's in
Stonehenge.
Scotland. Well, you know what's really interesting about all this? Let's go back. I want to take you back to show you something. Now, here we have, if you remember, the land of ancient Canaan, right?
Yes.
Now, if we go all the way straight to the northernmost part of Canaan and keep going, we're going to end up in this part of the world. This is ancient Persia, known as modern-day Iraq. Now, you keep going up, and you're going to come to a place known as Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe, I think it's about 50 kilometers, well, let's say 50 to 100 kilometers at the most, from the northernmost part of ancient Canaan. Let me show you what you'll find there.
Wow.
Wow.
Archaeological digging,
Yeah.
how you say it?
Yeah, this is Göbekli Tepe. It's the same type of stone circles in Stonehenge.
Wow.
So what did they do it for, those circles?
I'll explain in a second. This pillar, just one of those stones, that's 19 feet tall.
That reminds me the drawing you showed me from King Arthur.
Yeah. This is what the archaeological site looks like. Now, they've been excavating and working on this for 40-something years now. They've unearthed 10% of the area, and they have found out that there are a lot more of these in that area. A lot more. When we take a look at some of these other photos, you can see that they have been doing a lot of work trying to expose what's underneath the ground and everything.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I'll get to the explanation in a second. Let me just continue here. Okay. Now, we go from, as it says, ancient Canaan up to ancient Persia or Iraq. And here is Göbekli Tepe on the map. You go a little further, there's another place known as Navali Kore. At Navali Kore, guess what you find?
My vision improved after I threw away all my eggs. Here's why.
If you are struggling with vision loss and
The same type of stone structures.
Very interesting, Doc.
Now here's the really interesting part about it. It's estimated that Stonehenge, the construction, first began in 3000 BC, okay?
I thought as much.
Göbekli Tepe is dated back to 11,000 BC.
Yeah. That's
So
what
that means civilization is older than what we originally
yes,
thought.
I thought as much. I was taught this when I was studying the scriptures around the AD BC era in that particular Middle East on the biblical side. I don't remember much what I was taught, but this just clarifies some interesting parts.
Proves that in ancient Persia, stone circles were the first area on the earth to be built. And ancient Persia is right next to Canaan, where all the giants were. And let's not forget, it was Darius the Mede that was ruling in Persia. It's the giants that were building the stone circles.
And now
That's what I was
we have
calling them.
to continue because I want to hear more. I want to hear why did they give it? Is it like something for fun?
There's a very good reason, and I'm going to explain this to you and show you something. Now, first of all, hold on. It's not just Stonehenge where you're going to find stone circles. Or, in England, there's other areas on the world. Let me show you something. This stone circle, this is in Russia.
Wow.
This stone circle is in Russia. And the completed version would look like this because it had a roof and everything. Just like Stonehenge originally had some type of covering on its roof. This next one is in Sweden. Sweden. This one, known as Burnt Hill, this is in Heath, Massachusetts. Let me just. Okay, there's more, but let's get to this one particular one. I want to show you what's going on. There's more, but here's what's known as the American Stonehenge. I've been there a number of times. Okay, this is in New Hampshire, in Wyndham. It has a lot of different walls and caves that was built when their stone circles were built there. But there is also something that gives us a major clue. Over here is an altar that was used for human sacrifice.
My gosh.
Look at
Ancient.
the grooves that was carved into it. That's where the blood would pool up and drain out at the zip.
Human sacrifices all those centuries ago. No wonder the planet was flooded. the ancient Luciferian human and the blood to be drained.
At this point, you see, places like Stonehenge and the other stone circles throughout the world, they had three major purposes. They were used as religious centers, they were used as astrological observatories, and they were places that was used for the rites of human sacrifice. Underneath Stonehenge alone, archaeologists have unearthed more than 4,000 human skeletal remains that were sacrificed.
Wow.
And that's just Stonehenge. Remember, that's a small circle. The one in Stonehenge, remember that one that was 2 miles in circumference?
Yes.
Can you imagine how many human sacrifices are buried underneath that one?
Amazing.
Now, we know, and I'm going to start connecting all the dots for you here. Just be patient with me. It'll take a little while, okay?
As long as you can go.
Oh, I'll tell you the story. That's not a problem. Now, there is another stone circle that I think will interest you the most, or at least get your attention. Hold on a second. Just let me reference something here. Okay. Open. Have you ever seen this before?
Yeah, I've seen pattern like that before.
Not sure.
Well, you should, because it's in your neighborhood. This is Gilgal Rephaim.
Ah, it's in Israel?
Yes. Now, Gilgal Rephaim, for the Hebrew, means the wheel of the ghost or wheel of giants. Rephaim.
רפאים, כן. גלגל רפאים.
Yes. This thing is massive. There's more than 42,000 basalt stones that make up this formation, and it dates back over 5,000 years ago.
Wow.
Now, here's the rub of it. When we check the history books and the archaeological records, there was no tribe, no nomad or anyone that lived in Gilgal Rephaim except for the ancient giants.
There you go.
No one else lived in that area except for the giants. Yeah, that's in your backyard.
Amazing.
Now, this is very similar to something else we find here in America. You see what I'm talking about here?
I'm seeing.
That's the
They still
Bighorn
live about
medicine
on
wheel,
Earth underground,
and
I
that's
bet.
located
The
in the
Nephilim.
Bighorn National
Mix
Forest
of
in
races,
Cherokee,
different races.
Wyoming. This is where the Indians used to live. Now, this is where we get back to
This is a scary place when it gets dark.
the Illuminati. When I was in the Illuminati, I was told, now this was back during the 1970s. This was a long time ago when I was, let's say when I was young. But I was told these stories of these ancient giants that lived throughout North America, and that they stood about 15 to 18 feet in height, and that they had orange hair. According to the stories, these ancient giants lived not just in South America, but also in North America. You know, most of them are found like in the western part of North America. And the stories go that these giants lived in North America and that they would run around and do whatever they want. They would go through the Indian tribes through the nations. They'd grab their cattle up underneath their arms, or they would grab a buffalo here or deers here, and they would just carry them away and eat them. Now the problem was, because it was so big, one tribe could not do anything to defeat them, to stop them. However, someone got the clever idea that if they united all the tribes together, they could hunt down the giants and take care of them once and for all, and that's what they did. They started hunting down the giants and brought them to the complete point of genocide. Now, according to the story, they cornered the last of the giants, about 12, 15 of them in this one huge cave. And the Indians were throwing in spears, shooting in arrows, using slingshots, whatever, to try to force the giants out of that cave, but the giants would not come out. So what they decided to do, they built a huge fire in front of the cave to try to smoke them out. Rather than come out, the giants remained in that cave and they died. Now, if you understand the American Indian mindset, that cave would no longer be allowed to be entered. It was a cursed area now. No one would ever go in again. Mm-hmm. So in some cave in the western part of the United States of America are the skeletal remains, full skeleton now, of 12 to 15 giants. And that's what I'm on the verge of discovering.
You want to go there digging?
I've already been there a number of times over the last 5 years. I'm going to be moving to this area soon because we have been finding petroglyphs that's been telling us stories about these ancient giants and such. Let me see if I can find some of those petroglyphs for you, okay? Because there's, well, anyways, before I get to that, let me show you something really odd that's going here. Now, let's get back to Stonehenge for a second, okay?
Yes, and reminding you, we have to go into the connection to Illuminati.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. If we go again, Stonehenge, okay, where they're summoning up demons at places like this. That was their purpose. Okay, but
Really?
something strange has been going on, and people have not been making the connections. Now, I'm going to show you something here, and just bear with me for a moment. If we look, here is Stonehenge again, okay?
Yes.
Now, right across the road from Stonehenge is a crop formation. This is not the Star of David. This is a hexagram with the circle around it.
Wow,
This
look
is the
at that.
the most evil
Witchcraft.
of occult symbols in all of history. Nothing can touch it. You need this symbol if you're going to summon up a demon to this plane of existence. Mm-hmm. So what is this doing next to Stonehenge?
This is a. Do you think this is a man-made?
No. No. But let's keep going. Remember Stonehenge?
Yes.
Yeah, this one, as I said, hold on, is 2 miles in circumference, and you can see the remains of the stones. It's so big that part of this actual town is built through it. That's how big this is.
Yeah.
Now, let's take a look at this next picture. Now, here's Avebury Hedge. You can see the stones again, the town going through it. There's a croc formation here, and look at the croc formation right here.
Yeah.
And nobody till you did the connection between those two.
One more time.
Nobody
One more time.
till today. Nobody did understood the connection between those.
No one's been making the connection. But this is a very ancient occult symbol. It's hundreds of years old. It's at least 500. It's more than 800, I'm sure. It's known as a thaumaturgical circle. This is when one person, if they have enough skill, can summon a demon through.
Good question.
So again, I'm asking it again. This, you think men did it?
This?
Yes.
No. Demons.
Demons.
Wow.
Also.
Demons. I'm convinced demons that's doing it. Look at this one here.
The crazy loophole where you just do 4 hours of work. And it generates a new income stream that keeps paying you forever more. How good does that sound?
Hexagon.
Okay. Here's Avebury Hedge again. The 2 miles. And look at this one. Right next to it. This next one, you're gonna really flip out over. This was another crop formation. Can you see the hidden symbol that was drawn in it?
Paganism as well.
I see few. I see 6s. I see the X 2-headed, and I see a wave.
6, 6,
6.
Yeah.
Also looks like Google logo.
Yes.
Yeah, but
That's
actually,
conspiracy.
it's the same thing that they did with the symbol for the Trilateral Commission.
There you go.
Yes.
I was talking about this years ago, but when we look at the logo, you'll see. Hold on. It's made up of 3 6s. Yeah, it's the same thing. Now, there was another crop formation. Let me show you this one. Right here,
Yes.
and there it is. What does that look like to you?
Demon.
Face.
It's
With horns.
Yes.
Lucifer.
Yeah. You see, the purpose behind all the creation of the stone circles is to bring back demons. We have to remember one thing. It was fallen angels or fallen demons that mated with female human beings, and they created the race of the giants. Now, according to all the cultural stories throughout the world, in England, Scotland, Ireland, in England itself, Göbekli Tepe, Nebali Kore, Gilgal-Bethel, Russia, Sweden, all the stories speak of ancient giants that lived in their areas. And all of those cultural stories tell us they built these giant monuments. Those would have been the stone circles. The archaeological records prove giants existed in the area. We have their weapons, their tools, and other things that the government of the world are trying to make sure people don't know about. And from the archaeological records, we also know places like Stonehenge, Gilgal-Bethel, Avebury Hedge, all those were places where the rites of human sacrifice were being performed so that demons could come back through them. And, among other things, we know that the cloth formations are occultic ones. Those, the ones I just showed you, were never put into newspapers or magazines. Those were not being shown. And I could show you a lot more. But the point is, they're not being shown. Because the true reason this is going on, the stone circle, is so that they could bring back the demons. We know, according to the prophecies in the book of Revelation, that the demons are going to be set loose upon the face of the earth. The easiest way you could do this is through the stone circles. That's why they're across the world. This is what's going on and why the ancient giants were created. Because those demons knew the prophecies of what God was going to write about. So they made a way through their children, the giants, to build these structures so that they would eventually be able to come back through them. That's what the purpose behind those stone circles have been all along.
Okay. And now the relation to Illuminati?
The Illuminati's religion goes all the way back to Babylon itself. Remember, Lucifer had those fallen angels mate with human beings. What was the original intention of Lucifer when he was thrown to earth? What was his original purpose?
I don't know.
He wanted to take over the world, remember?
Yes.
And that's what the Bible says he will eventually do during the last 7 years during the tribulation period.
Yeah, and he even told to Jesus like that he has all the authority kingdom here, like the earthly kingdom, and he can give it to whoever he wants.
At that point, yes. And that's why these plans are thousands of years old, because Lucifer was planning for the future. Remember, this is a spiritual being. Time means nothing to him. So for us, when this first started, let's say almost 5,000 years ago, 5,000 years is a horrendous amount of time for us. But for someone like Lucifer or fallen angel, time means nothing. So they planned for all these things to happen. It took time, but it got there. And now, what is going to happen is you're going to see more demonic activities at these stone circles than all of recorded history. Okay. Here we go.
Nice to see your face again.
But that's only a small portion of the overall evidence I have just on the giants, the stone circles, the aliens, rock formations. It all fits in together. You saw the film.
I know. You have hours on hours on YouTube and DVDs we can get from the website. Lots of material that I found fascinating.
You know, as I said, we show you all the evidence.
Yes. And now I have more like simple questions.
Did you know there is a natural way to regrow teeth and gums that only 3% of the population even knows about?
Come on.
Scientists at the National Institute of Dental
Yeah, the demons are bad.
research have invented a powerful sour liquid that can...
Let's say I'm a human who is who is in the Illuminati cult. What do I believe in?
Well, first you believe in what I told you about their version of the Great War in heaven. Okay? Second of all, you practice the rites of human sacrifice 8 times a year. It has to happen. The last one was on December 1st. It's on the night of Yule in the Illuminati. Most of the power brokers, the big people who's running this world, are in the Illuminati. In Jerusalem, the Knesset, and the Supreme Court was built by the Rothschilds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. The Rothschilds head the order of the Illuminati to this very day. I have the documents.
Why
You
do
must have.
I, as an Illuminati, let's say, why do I want to work for those giants, for this Lucifer? What do I believe in?
Giants aren't around anymore. Okay? Lucifer is, or Satan, as he's now known as. Why? Because you want to become one of the big people when he creates the New World Order. You want to be one of the big wigs in charge of the earth.
And do they believe like in eternity? Like after they die, they would return or something?
No, they don't believe in heaven or hell.
Okay.
They believe in reincarnation.
Ah.
Yeah, see, they believe. See, this is why a lot of their plans, the Illuminati's plans, are written in a way that will take maybe 100 years, maybe a little bit longer. They don't care because they believe when they die, they're going to come back to continue their plans anyways.
And how do they make sure they would be Illuminati in the new incarnation of them?
Well, because according to the belief of reincarnation, you can come exactly the way you left. You know, other stories about reincarnation, let's say from the Hindus, they say that yes, they believe in reincarnation, but they say that if you didn't live a good enough life, you can come back as a bug, a bird, an animal. But that's one way of looking at it. The Illuminati have their version of looking at it. It's just like there's different versions of Christianity.
Yeah.
Like born again Christian, then there's the Orthodox Christians in Russia, so on and so forth.
Yes.
It just depends on your own personal perspective or interpretation.
So it's all about preceding honor and richness and levels of power.
Power.
It's funny because it's the different way of Jesus, who said, humble yourself and be a servant and be the lowest.
Yeah, but we got to remember, Satan fell, or Lucifer fell, because he wanted all the power for himself. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verses 12 to, is it 14 through 16 or 12 to 14? It says 5 times he said, I will, and one of them was, I will be like God.
But
he wanted everything.
Isn't this psychotic? Like, he knows God. He knows that God created him.
Yeah, but he didn't know how powerful God really was. That was his mistake. Lucifer, in his pride, thought there was nothing he couldn't do. And because of that, he underestimated God.
I cannot get it, because he has a beginning and maybe an end. But God doesn't.
Well, again, as I said, Lucifer fell from pride. That's it. He thought there was nothing he couldn't do. It's the same thing with, megalomaniacs or people, what are those people? I can't think of the other word I'm thinking of, but their mindset is, it's all about me. I can do anything I want, and people's going to bow down and worship me.
Yeah.
You know? And it was the same thing with Lucifer.
So I'm saying it's psychotic.
Yeah, it's a psychosis. We
it's
can
not
by
sane.
human understanding.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what did it, was pride. He wanted all the power and the glory for himself. And this is what he's still after. And this is what the Bible tells us is going to happen during the 7-year tribulation period. They will get the earth for 7 years. And this is the plan of the Illuminati. It's ages old. But this is the goal. That's why they're calling it a new world order.
So our time is ending, but I want just more quick questions. Do you have some guess or belief how would the Antichrist will come? Who will it be? Where will it be?
Okay.
How can we recognize?
Well, the Bible gives us one telltale, a couple prophecies that will show us how close we are to the rapture and the tribulation period. It's in the book of Matthew, where it's prophesied about the budding of the fig tree and then the olive tree, the branches and all this. When that happens, the next generation would be the last one. Now, that's reference directly to Israel, when Israel became a nation back on May 14th, 1948. If I remember the exact date, it's May 14th, 1948. And so the Bible tells us when Israel comes back as a sovereign nation again, the next generation, that's the last one. Now, how far down the road? Well, the Bible gives us a couple different measurements as far as how long a generation is. A generation can be 35, 40, 70, 100, or 120 years in length. Okay? Now, if it's 35 and 40 doesn't work because that would bring us back to 1983 and 1988. Well, the rapture didn't happen, you know, so it can't be those. Now, it could be 70 years, which would bring us to the year 2018, or it could be 100 years or 120. So that would bring us down to 2048 or 2068. Now, I'm not saying those are the years.
Of course.
What I'm saying here, because I don't believe in date setting, what I'm saying is if we go by the Bible measurement of a generation, it could be any time now. Because we're in 28, and if it's 70 years, 2018 would be the year. But I'm not betting on it.
You know what I think? That there is something very special happened in about 1983.
Are we talking about the grand alignment of the planets?
No. First of all, I was born.
Okay.
And
What was so special about that?
But you know this book, 1984?
Yes, Giorgio Orwell.
Very interesting book, right? And I think all of this system we're living into today, or let's say Big Brother, or it started around there, you know, in 1984. Internet connection worldwide, and
That was the 1990s, 1998.
I think, yes, but it didn't develop so wide. But
Yeah.
I'm, you know, in years you can go 10 years, 20 years, but never mind. I'm just saying this is the network for New World Order. As it described in the book 1984.
Well, it did say in the book of Revelation that everyone around the world will be able to see what the Antichrist can do, his miracles, his power, and obviously, I would say the internet. You know, because right now, that's what you and I are doing. We're on opposite side of the world. You're, 8,000 miles away from me, and yet I can see you face to face. I'm talking to you. This can be easily done now with the Antichrist when it comes to power.
So when Jesus will return.
You know, yeah. And the Bible also told us that towards the end time, knowledge would increase.
Yeah.
And boy, every 6 months now, they say our knowledge is doubling.
Okay, so my final question, can you give us a few words of hope after hearing all this?
Well, there's always hope. That's one thing about it. And the greatest hope is found in the Bible, in the prophecies. It tells us that, first of all, a person doesn't have to die and go to hell if they don't want to. They can get saved through Jesus Christ. This is why he died as the ultimate sacrifice upon the cross of Calvary. And by turning to Christ and accepting his gift of salvation and him, especially in your life, trust me, your life is going to be so much better after that. It is now. As I said, I was in the Illuminati for 20 years of my life. I was raised in this. I saw a lot of things no one should ever have to see. But I was part of this New World Order system. I remember the plans, the times, the dates, the names, all of it. But for everything I had then, it's nothing compared to what I have now. Now, I barely have 2 pennies to rub together to my name. But I'll tell you this much, I haven't been this happy or this content in my life, because my final destination is going to be with Jesus Christ in the heaven of God. I know no matter what happens during the last 7 years of the tribulation period, God is going to win at the end. So my hope for a better future has been secured. I don't have to worry about any of it, because in the end, we win. But that's up to every individual to either accept the free gift of eternal salvation through Jesus Christ or reject it. And I wouldn't want to be in their shoes if they reject it.
Marquise, thank you very much.
There you go.
Be a natural forest made from
So that is reference to the giants. I'll end the stream at that point. First of all, there's evidence I'm being hacked. So you have the Knights of Holly's chat. She gets no problem hacking, but hacking me.
You're my support systems here. I love it. The other day you were not in my chat.
See how she puts this up on camera. She's not getting tortured like many people like me. See how she's not getting hacked. She claims she's a former super soldier. Right. She's on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if anyone knows, she used to have a website, but Matt Spires. So see the website still up. Oh, she's got a PayPal. So if you want to make a donation, this is why she does her lives, to require PayPal donations. I would never do that. She says she's on that, is she? Okay. $21. She joined 2017. She does her memories. So she's in different platforms to get traffic. It's really demonic when they use these technologies to program. I've been in the mile of program. Oh, now she wants to throw a conference in the summer. And she wants to raise enough funds to do it. About technical training. And she wants to bring, she's not a target individual then. I thought so. If you want to do that, you won't be able to do that when you target individual. You get blocked. And she says, I want to bring the best of people together. No, 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 no. She's not a target individual. Those versus the fakes just started. I'm not going. Not interested. God. Civilians army. What's the other one? She says she's on PayPal. It puts the email out. She puts herself on camera to make income, extra income. I like the avatar she's using. So what she implies of Lincoln? Lincoln's used for that one. What about YouTube? Not published anything yet, it's just set up an account. When did she join? Well, business inquiries. Says she's got a website. Now the website one. Arm and muscles. What's this UFO in England? Fake UFO story. Towers explained.
I said A.G. Joinery. I said A.G. James Ring, she's got associations with them, but she spoke about her life. A lot of it as well. She's fragmented. She's putting a lot of her life. Well, apparently you don't get the bleed through memories till you're in the early 30s and different things. You could watch something else by a different super soldier who's had this memory bleed back, and memories start flooding back of different events. So this is the first whistleblower we've had on as far as super soldiers are concerned, but there's many of them. You know, James Rink has his own website, and he interviews other people in the same situation, trying to bring their memories to the fore. And of course, when your mind is shattered and you've got all these different alter egos, you have to try and bring your main personality forward as the main personality and get rid of the alters, which is what they call all the other ones. So it is going to be a really interesting show. So we're going to start off with Dave Lloyd, the Skinwalker Ranch. Now, there's been lots of documentaries, you know, you can get up on the internet now. There's made a lot of series out of it. It is very, very interesting. Seems very much like, I remember Mulder and Scully used to do the X-Files and find animal mutilations and different things. Always interested in a lot of these things. Well, just to give you an idea of where the location is, if you think of California on the west coast, well, next California is Nevada, and then Utah, and this is where this ranch is. Yeah. Underneath Utah is Arizona, so that gives you an idea where it is in America itself. And it's south of a place called Ballard. And as I said before, it's approximately a 512-acre site. And it's reputed to be the site of paranormal and UFO-related activities. The name Skinwalker apparently is taken from the Navajo legend concerning vengeful medicine man or shaman
Skinwalkers reported to be like glowing guys, shape-shifting, possess animals, and in different guises. So different things have been seen. Wolves the size of donkeys and stuff like that, 3 or 4 times normal was the actual. But there's all sorts going on there. It's unbelievable.
It's been owned by a number of families as well, right, right through, hasn't it?
Well, going back to the 1930s. Well, if you think about how the Skinwalker legend came about, was because the Navajo were fighting the Ute Indians.
Yeah.
I think they were going into Colorado, which is next door to.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why Utah is called Ute, being the Ute tribe.
The history there, but Dave.
Well, I'm only guessing there, but it sounds plausible. It's a conspiracy. And apparently the Navajo cursed the land, and this is where the Skinwalker comes from. So this goes back, hundreds of years. But in the 1930s, Ken and Edith Meyer had a ranch there, and they were just ordinary ranchers. They were doing the daily lives, and Ken told a friend, an ex-county sheriff, Chris Horrott, that he was who used to go riding with. He became friends with him because they both had an affinity to go out horse riding, rounding up cattle, and he said that he tells Chris that overnight he had to lock everything down because things in the house started to move around. Things disappeared, poltergeist activity. He could hear stuff when he was in bed, but he'd lock the fridge, he'd lock cupboards, he'd lock doors, padlock,
Yeah.
And he said on one occasion when they arrived, they were looking for these 3 heifers. Couldn't find them anywhere. They were out for a couple of hours looking for them. And he said, "Well, just check this shed." Now, this shed was small, but when he tried to get into the shed, it was only a few, maybe 7, 8 feet square. What he kept in the shed, I don't know. But anyway, they tried to get in, couldn't get in. But they looked through a hole, and there were the 3 heifers stacked on top of each other. And he said, "I think they're dead." But when the other guy looked in, and the sheriff looked in, he said, "No, there's mucus dripping from the horse's nose." So he said, "Get some water and throw some water over it, over one of their necks." And they were all alive. But it was as if they were under hypnosis or something. They'd been drugged or. So, but how they got there is still a mystery to this day. It's unbelievable, isn't it? So, they saw all sorts of strange stuff going on walks late at night. But so they were the owners from 1933 for 60 years to 1993. Then come along Terry Sherman, because this place is sometimes called a Sherman
Ranch was quite
Skinwalker Sherman Ranch. Just after 18 months, he wasn't there long. He was only there 3 years. He states after just 18 months after moving into the ranch, he was walking his dogs late at night around the ranch when he encountered a wolf. But this wolf was 3 times bigger, with glowing red eyes. That must have been a sight. And it was approaching a pen where he must have had cattle or sheep, something. And he said as he approached it, he fired 3 shots into its hide, and it stood there unfazed, looked at him, turned, had little effect, turned away and walked off into the dark night. He said that was we seen it walk off and then it just seemed to disappear. He said he's never seen nothing like it. And I've actually seen a documentary where he actually talks about it and goes through the episode again.
Yeah.
So it's getting 3 times bigger than the normal wolf.
Yeah. Do you know things like animal mutilation? What is it about?
Well, it seems that say for instance, there's been numerous animal mutilations. There was a policeman who talked about when the Mayors were there.
Yeah.
He'd been at least a dozen cases of cat mutilation on the ranch going back to the 70s. And he said that if it was snowing, for instance, there'd be no footmarks or anything around the body. There'd be incisions, there may be something taken out the eye, or with position as if it'd been operated on in an operating theatre. All the blood sucked out of it, which is impossible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's no footmarks, there's no disturbance. They're not like animal bites where something dies and there's different animals that come and eat it. They don't seem to touch it, So that makes you think. So there's been numerous cat mutilations over the years. yeah, so that's a terrible shame, and he only lasted 3 years, and then came along Robert Bigelow.
Yeah, he seemed to be the big one, wasn't he? Well, the big low, so to speak.
Well, Robert Bigelow has shown an interest in the paranormal activity, and UFO activity, on board the ranch and formed NIDS, NIDS, National Institute for Discovery Science, and a team of scientists studied the ranch on and off for 20 years. So they must have gathered some information. But on watching the documentary with the guy who got it next after him, he said he really didn't give much information about what they found.
What they got there?
Yeah, only skimming the surface sort of thing, which the guy who bought it next, Brandon Frudel, or Fugel, I think his name is, he said it didn't bother him because he was going to send his own scientists in. So anyway, he said a team of scientists studied the ranch on and off for 20 years. One of the people in the team being a deputy sheriff and tribal policeman, Pete Pickle, who stated that he investigated at least a dozen cattle mutilations going back as far as the 70s. That's what I was just telling you about before. And Robert Bigelow founded Bigelow Aerospace in 1999, and he made his fortune out of budget hotel suites of America. So he must own the whole chain of these.
Yeah.
And the thing about Bigelow Aerospace, what tends to happen now is, because the government don't want to give away secrets about what's going on in space, they tend to subcontract out all the work to private aerospace companies like Bigelow. Now there's talk that there's a possibility that Bigelow might have his own a space platform, like the ISS, something like that himself. He's got that much money, he's a billionaire, But,
so he could be using this place because of it's a portal or something?
Well, that's another thing that's been discussed. But he also, in 2020, just recently founded the Bigelow Institute for Consciousness Studies to support investigations into life after death. So this guy, he's got the money and he's got the know-how to get the scientists to go out and do the work and find out what's actually going on as much as he possibly can.
So he's done this Bigelow done it up to 2016, didn't he?
2016, and then enter Brandon Fugel, real estate mogul.
But Dave, did I just say there, 20 years there?
Yeah.
Very limited information from this guy.
Yeah. And also, I read last night actually that the Pentagon said he had some millions of black budgets, so they were looking for something, actually what was going on, because there's so much going on in such a small area. And this area, if I can explain to you, I think there's only one main road. There's two homesteads. One homestead is occupied. The other one is just a ruin. And on the right-hand side, as you go in, it's like it's not a mountain range. It's what they call a mesa. It's a couple of 100 feet high, with a couple of like potholes or caves. Which they investigated the whole thing with LiDAR, which made them reflect stuff back, and you get a 3D outline of everything. And when he went up and investigated, this was Brandon Fugel's scientists. They found that they were getting dizzy, and the phones weren't working. Stuff was going haywire, magnetic interference, and that, So anyway, he bought it for a reported $4.5 million. Brandon. After the purchase, the road leading to the ranch was blocked and the perimeter secured, because you've got people from outside with interests. People say, well, we'll go find out what's going on, take a few detectives. Well, you don't want them people.
Have you heard of Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah. I've seen all kinds of documentaries, read books, even movies about it.
Yeah.
But the perimeter you're saying about, there's a YouTube, there's a guy, I've forgotten his name, Franco TV or something. He goes around to all these ghost haunted places and all that. But quite recently, he went to the perimeter fence, and literally, I think within minutes, he could see all the infrared cameras and all that. Within minutes, it was actually, I think he said something like it was quicker than Area 51. There's a vehicle on the horizon heading his way, and next thing you know, he's gone. So
it's 521 acres. That's large, isn't
it? About 512 acres. Well, I was wondering, how big is 512 acres?
It's 207 hectares.
Well,
Sorry.
I looked, and there's 640 acres to the square mile, so that gives you an idea. It's not gigantic, but it's big enough. So they secured the perimeter, and they had cameras everywhere, infrared. They were watching the place from all different angles, 24/7. Now, when Brandon Frugal got the scientists together, they have their own mission control where they get all these cameras, like CCTV. They're covering everywhere all at the time, different things. I mean, even when a helicopter flew overhead, a black helicopter, not making much noise, but you could see it. They went inside and you could see that its transponder wasn't on. So, where's this coming from? So, as I say, it seems that there was a black budget from the Pentagon that actually invested millions of dollars in the Bigelow scientific thing, and not much came out of it to Brandon Frugal, because obviously he must have talked to him when he sold it to him. And but he said he wasn't worried because he was going to bring his own team in and start from scratch, sort of thing. He knew there was something wrong, and that's why he had the interest in it anyway, because Bigelow has an interest in the paranormal and is the life after death.
I mean, the other thing is with that, if Bigelow hasn't found anything, but to make his money, I mean, allegedly, if you keep the myth going, do you know what I mean? Or you make up some stories, you generate interest then, aren't you? Do you know
True, but I don't think, he's got that much money. I think it only cost about $500,000, and he sold it 20 years later for about $4.5 million. But I think he's only done it because he's really interested.
Well, it actually says that Robert Bigelow, he bought it for $200,000.
I'm only 300,000.
Yeah, just 300. What's that? What's that to us, Dave? But that's in '96. So you're talking this 25 years ago. It's still a reasonable penny, isn't it?
So is any information coming out there, or is it literally sealed tight?
He assembled a team of scientists with technologies such as lasers, ground penetrating radar, drones, rockets, and thermal imaging systems as they try to explain the high strangeness on the range. The team included astrophysicist Dr. Travis Taylor, scientist Eric Bard, Jim Moss, the ranch manager, Superintendent Thomas Winterton, who suffered something really bad. I'll tell you about him shortly. LiDAR expert Pete Kelsey, and security provided by a friend of Brandon Mogul. He grew up with him as a teenager. Brian Arnold, known as Dragon. So he's the security expert, and everywhere he went on the ranch, he had a rifle and a gun, him and his mate, there was a couple of them who would go around with whatever experiments they were doing at the time. Now, he was told when he went back to Mission Control, which is a big room where everything is, where they have all the discussions about what the next experiment's going to be. Dr. Travis Taylor said, well, we'll have to take soil samples and do this, that, and the other. They said, oh no, we shouldn't start digging because things happen. It's almost as if you go there with a flippant attitude. The ranch starts, it sort of like comes alive against you. It sort of like picks on you. And a couple of people who've got in with flippant attitudes, they've gone away sick. But one particular time, they were doing something, and this Thomas Winterton, who's the superintendent, he said it was like somebody had fired a laser beam or something at his head. It wasn't a laser beam, but he got this pain in his head, and it was that bad. It came up like the size of an egg, and he had to go to hospital. And it was something between the skull and the outside skin. And he still, to this day, don't really know what it was. It was almost like it was magnetic, like some sort of frequency. And he was off work for weeks and weeks and weeks. So he was always worried about digging the ground. It was particularly about digging underground, that you didn't mess with the ground. But as this was part of the documentary series, The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, which has been on TV. They've done
I'm just looking
two series, and it was really, really good. In case you don't know, LiDAR is a method of determining ranges by targeting an object with lasers and then measuring the time for the reflected light to return to the receiver. So you end up with a 3D outline of everything that you're putting the LiDAR on. But they stayed out all night one time, and they had infrared cameras on a giant screen, and they were looking at the mesa, and all of a sudden a light like a beam of light. You couldn't see it with the human eye, but a beam of light came shining out from behind the mesa. And it was on for a few seconds. They all saw it. It was documented because they recorded it. And then it just switched off like that. And this ranch is shaped like a basin. And they found after time that the focal point seems to be about between a quarter and half a mile in the centre of the sky. Mm-hmm. It was like, if you think of a radio antenna like Arecibo.
Yeah.
It was shaped like a basin, and they did dig the ground, and they found that there was it seemed to be like a massive dome, but they could only go so far with the equipment that they got. The soil is very conductive. There's all different tests. There was cases where they went to the second homestead, which is abandoned, lifted the manhole cover. He was told not to, Dr. Travis Taylor.
Yeah.
And all the equipment went haywire, and then a couple of weeks later, on one of his fingers, he had what seemed to be like a saw, and it was radioactive. It was like microwaves that caused interference with his fingers. It took him ages to get back to where he was. They pulled mobile phones out, and they'd start dialing all different things. He said, "Have a look at this. It's gone crazy."
Well, it seems to be it's about like ghost hunts and things like that. There's a lot of radioactivity or electromagnetic energy. There's certain places have it, don't they, naturally?
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a lot of crossover between Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, it seems to exhibit everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, everything.
So there does seem to be like, assuming haunted places really are haunted. A lot of the phenomena that you get there just seems to be like little micro versions of what you seem to get at Skinwalker Ranch, almost as though it is just a tiny little version of
things seem to fluctuate. Things, you can go wild on you, and all of a sudden, like switching light switch, and go back to normal.
But that, I mean, I take that as like sort of interference, or like electromagnetic energy or something like that. But is that also symptomatic of things like portals? Or do you know what I mean? Stargates or things like that. Or?
So one security guard standing next to the gremlins there, because there's originate from their group.
So we're going to do our interview now with Holly. We'll have a few adverts get us through. We're going to listen to Like My Fire again, our favourite one of all time. Holly, it's going to be interesting, Dave. This one, isn't it?
Yeah, she keeps up.
The world of fantastic.
Said to be a super soldier, and which means that her whole body has been enhanced with drugs and different mind-bending, programs that she's been through, and she's having to try and come out the other side. And slowly but surely, as she came into, in fact, I think it was her late 30s, she started getting some memories back and trying to piece together. Did we mention? I don't know what we. But I think I was going to mention to her about hypnosis. Like we interviewed Mary Rodwell, and she's hypno regressed people who've been abductees.
Children, specifically children.
Yeah, and I don't think I asked her. Maybe the time run out or whatever, but. Maybe she should do some of that as well.
So it'll be interesting to listen into it and obviously make your own judgment. But it is.
All I'd say is keep an open mind, but don't let your brain fall out.
Yeah, but I mean, if it is true that then there's major things going on outside these dimensions of the world.
Of course, yeah. I mean, she talks about other super soldiers that she knows. So it's not just.
She knows from the internet. She don't know them personally.
Sort of
disclaimer there, they should have said that.
Although they've got their own individual take on things, it is interesting. So stay tuned for more tales of the unexplained. We'll listen to our sponsors. Are we staying, Dave, or are we going to... You
might have to zoom up shortly, but even if I'm listening in the car, I will definitely be...
I hope there's no gremlins on the way off.
Let's get you this
more tales of the unexplained.
Said AG Joinery. AG Joinery. All aspects of joinery undertaken all over Liverpool and the surrounding areas. Call Alan on 0756 557 6400. 0756 557 6400.
Heating gone. Problem with your boiler. A few gremlins with Dave Cash. Dave Cash is now had to go over to the Wirral. He's a very busy man at the moment. He's really high up the rest of the show. So stay tuned for this interview with Holly. So joining us now is Holly Baglio. Is that right? It is Baglio. New Jersey State?
Yeah.
What's the weather like there, by the way? Is it still
hot and humid. Yes, you can hardly breathe in it.
Yeah, because we've been at about 30 degrees and we've been traumatised in Britain, haven't we? But America's been even worse.
We've had a heat wave, but this morning we've also had thunder and lightning. It's been crazy.
It must be because you're on Holly anyway. So we're all ready to go. So Holly.
You're making me blush, Peter. Thank you for having me here. And it's great to see you again, David.
And you.
So Holly, can you just tell us a little bit about your background? You're a young child before things started and lead into this amazing life you've sort of been involved in now.
Okay. Well, first, my grandparents on my mother's side raised me, and my grandfather was in the Navy, and he worked on a minesweeper ship as a cook. And he would come home and tell my grandmother how the military would give him and the other soldiers LSD just to see what it would do. And my grandmother would kind of laugh it off. I do not believe he realized what type of projects he was involved in. And what I've uncovered is minesweeper ships were used in the Philadelphia experiment. I wish he were still alive today so I could ask him more questions. But they raised me, and I lived with them until they both passed away, and I was about 28 years old. But during that time, growing up, they would come into my house, black ops, and they would take me out, or an implant would be triggered, and I would leave the house and go outside and meet them. Even when my grandparents took me on vacation, when they wanted to come get me, they would come to the hotel room and take me out. I do have a memory of being in grammar school, and there was one or two occasions. I have fragmented memories, but I remember them in Liberty Corner School.
There's some that doesn't add up. She's been also saying that she was developed in a petri dish in the underground dumps in one of her streams. But now you're hearing what actually happens. It's a Mylod Lab super soldier program where it's not alien abductions, it's black op military. And she describes it on this radio show.
The bottom level underneath the principal's office where no one was allowed to go. They always had that section of the stairway gated, but we were brought down into the bottom, a smaller group of us kids. And then from there, I don't really remember. And of course, they would bring me back home. But I spent half my life in the dumps, deep underground military bases. I believe I remember Nelson, Canada, Montauk, New York. I was in a dump somewhere out in San Antonio, Texas. I was in dumps in the UK, and I am suspect to think also in Yemen, but the locations are still not clear. I was told by other children I was trafficked with that they had us over in Iraq as well. So I've been all over the place in the dumps.
I was going to say, Holly, do you think that your grandparents were actually aware of what was happening to you?
You know, when I remember this one occasion when I was brought back to a hotel room, we were visiting Niagara Falls in Canada on a vacation. And when I was brought back to my grandparents, when I looked at my grandparents, they looked like they were in a daze or fog. They didn't look like they normally operated and functioned. So they were being used, whether they were awake or not, I don't know.
They may have been manipulated in some way.
Yes.
You see, I interviewed James Rink a few years ago, and he said, I think he called it Project Surrogate, where they were kept, the kids were kept underground, but a lot of them didn't live unless they saw daylight sources. In other words, you'd live longer if you're seeing daylight and sunlight. So they got found out to surrogate parents. I'm just wondering whether your grandparents were actually your grandparents, or...
Well, Oh, you know, as a matter of fact, it took me quite a bit to deal with this, and I really appreciate James Casbolt's videos because when I first woke up back in 2014, I saw his videos. I thought to myself, oh boy, I not only recognize him, but he's talking about things that only I know and remember. And I'm really grateful to him. But what was I going to say about James? Where we left off, you said something about daylight.
Yeah, it was about
okay.
Whether your grandparents, do you believe that your grandparents were actually your grandparents or just grandparents that you were put with from coming up from under Island?
Thank you. I had to do a lot of research and investigation, and I fell into some rabbit holes. And through that, I have uncovered that I was basically a petri dish baby.
That's what
I believe David, Renee, and Olympia Rothschild are the family that trafficked us kids and created us. I believe they paid Joseph Mengele a lot of money to create us. So there was gene splicing used as well as DNA manipulation. So I look like my natural born parents, you know, the ones on my birth certificate. But there was a third gene used in creating me. And I
don't know about that bit. I'll skip that bit.
Like, I'm a small frame. I'm a small frame, only 5'6", so I'm not, you know, a big, gigantic soldier.
On her video, she looks taller.
We were sent on secret assignments and secret missions. We were a part of black ops or black operations that were black funded and clandestine. I'm saying that right. I probably didn't answer your question right. I'm sorry.
Well, it's funny because I was just talking to Peter before we started. I've been watching a program about Japanese gold in the Philippines. And it turns out after the Second World War, Yamashita, I think his name is General Yamashita, was put before a court. And he got all his maps where he hid all this gold. And I think it was Roosevelt sent guys over there and got billions and billions of pounds worth of gold or dollars. And these dollars are the ones that are used in black budgets.
You're targeted, you don't get interviewed or made
there's no
in
oversight
shape
from
either.
Congress or anything. You can just there's no oversight from Congress to turn up from nowhere because they've had it all this time. It's interesting, isn't it? You know? Yeah. But go on, Pete, what were you going to say?
No, I was so obviously. Where are you living at this period of time? Are you just having a normal life, or are you contained within certain areas, or what's your life like in this period? I know because it's quite fragmented, isn't it? Things are just coming to you now later on. But what could you tell us about your life as a teenager, or what was happening? Was it a normal life? Was it just a constant battle?
Well, yeah. I went to high school. I went to prom, college. I worked for AT&T and Pharmacia. So I lived a normal, regular life as well. Right now, where I am is I'm 46. I have a cat and dog, and I live out in the sticks, preferably. And I continue to deprogram and come to terms with everything. I use my YouTube channel and my Facebook page. I basically put up my recovery and deprogramming up publicly, and I give you a day-by-day account. And see, I put that process up public because when I woke up back in 2014, I would see James and Aaron and David put up videos, you know, every couple of months, but what I needed to know was what was happening behind the scenes. What were they going through? Was their mind falling apart like mine is? How did they get through their day? So I kind of put my process up publicly in hopes of finding other people out there, whether they're sleeping, to say the right trigger words to wake them up, and hey, there's no coincidences. And also to show them what I'm going through, so they can also say, okay, Holly's going through that, so this is normal for me going through this process.
Yeah. So you were part of the MK Ultra project where your mark was compartmentalized. into different compartments.
Yes.
And maybe different altars as well. And you've had to try and get rid of the other altars to bring the front altar, which is you yourself. And that can't be an easy job.
No, it's not. I was triggered recently, and I was triggered by 2 different projects, I think, Project Delta and Project Ibis. And it was really, really tough. I forgot what, forgive me.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say, I think, I know Michael Prince, or AKA the other guy, was part of Project Ibis in Canada, I think it was. I don't know, 42 of them, yeah. But I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Oh, yeah, that's what I meant to say. Do you believe you've got any implants in you now?
Yes. And I believe that I can feel when they ping them.
But she doesn't talk about targeting individuals.
Like a certain buzzing.
Is there any way to combat that, do you think? Is there any way at all?
For me, I choose Yeshua HaMashiach, the blood of the Lamb from the Holy Bible. He's bigger than the surgeries they did on us kids. He's bigger than the implants. He's bigger than the mind control that I'm still trying to understand. He's bigger than all of that. So long as I know he's got all of that, I know someone's in control, because a lot of times I feel I have spiraled out of control, or am, or will be soon. So that's how I do it.
So, do you know things like the Secret Space Program? What is that about for our listeners? What's the Secret Space Program? What would that be?
For me, I have memories of being on the moon, Saturn, a moon to Saturn, Sirius B, and Mars. Mars was my favorite. I liked Mars.
So is this all in the future, or is this at the present time, or is it a different dimension of time? So when is this actually happening? You're on the moon?
Current, back when they sent me, that was real time back then. So when I was about 13 years old, going to William Anna Junior High, they had a clone in my place, and I was sent with, I believe, Commander to the moon for a mission. But we got blown up to smithereens and landed in a hospital, in a building that's in the hospital. So I forgot what I was going to say.
So they rejuvenated your body, didn't they?
Well, I don't know how they do that, but I know for the time I was gone here on Earth, the clone was there. But yeah, they have that advanced technology, whether they gave me a clone body. But I think on that one occasion, they were healing my current body that I'm in. So, like you said, they were rejuvenating it, I guess, because I had to stay there for a while.
Yeah. So who is he? Is this a number of these families that are controlling the planet now and certain parts of the universe and dimensions? You mentioned rock jars and things like that. Is it these families that are doing this to the children?
I think it's those families doing it
Adults
to the
as
children,
well,
but I also think it's
children.
Politicians. You know, it's really hard being here looking at Barry Obama and George Bush Sr. as our president, but I remember them from missions and assignments in the dumps. And then I see celebrities these kids are drooling over, and it's like, oh, no, they're still current active mind control slaves, or they're the ones that were trafficking the kids.
So you think there is a big cloning plan where people are being cloned on a regular basis? I actually talked to Donald Marshall a couple of years ago, and he said in Canada they have like these underground things where they play out all sorts of scenarios, and he's been killed a couple of times, but somehow they transfer the consciousness into the clone or something. It's a little bit complicated. There's so many different types of clone, and it's supposed to be updated every couple of years. So when you said you were on the moon, would that be you, your physical body? The clone was at school, or would that be your consciousness within the clone?
The consciousness in the clone.
Yeah.
Okay, how's this? I believe I was in my physical body on the moon, in this physical body as I know it. But while I was there, yes, there was a clone programmed with how I would react.
I don't think she's got that right.
Was easy to pass off. Because growing up, I was always sick as a kid. I had strep throat.
Just because you got that as a kid, no. They use the consciousness, somehow the advancement technology, in my opinion, to upload into a clone body. And then, so when you come back in your own body and you regain memories, like Holly describing, it could be, I'm not saying it is, it just could be that. I don't believe the physical body will sustain that type of advancement. You'll be experimented on in the DOMS, yeah, but I don't think it could go to such places as space program. In the actual human body, I do believe they use clones, but use human consciousness. The type of technology is extremely advanced, but I'm not an expert. I'm just learning about myself. But some of it, she says, it's her experience.
War time zone one winter. I had to get my tonsils out when I was 9, so schools were always ready to hold me back for missing school too. So a clone could have easily been passed off as the original me. But I do believe that we may have been sent on assignments where we used a clone and our body was safely back in the dump.
There you go.
So what would the dump be, just for the listeners out there? What's the dump? Could you just describe that for us?
A dump is a deep underground military base where they were keeping us kids.
And are they there now as well? Would they be across the world?
Yes, dumps are all over the world. And as far as I know it, most of them are not under our control, human beings' control. They're under alien control. But
Nephilim control.
Yes,
different
most
races.
of my memories are from being in these underground bases with being locked in a cage and other kids being locked in cages.
When you were on the moon, what were they actually on the moon for? Were you mining stuff, or were you working with aliens, or did you see any aliens on the moon? Can you recollect anything?
I think now my memories are fragmented. They're very. I could be off, but
you get your memory right.
We were sent up there because they were going to terminate us. So they.
Anyway, that is on speaker and .com / onto the radio channel Tales of the Unexpected, August 2021. So I'll stop sharing. And now I've got to completely rest the body. Good luck to that. And many people that are going through this. So, such a shame. On that note, let's see. I am always had, and nobody comes in. And this is just more evidence. And let me check how long I've been streaming. 5 years. And nobody comes in the chat. Because it's what's part of the hacking. The one that can control. The main computer and the main internet is being rerouted. The main computer and the main internet is being rerouted. I've got audio recording of the hacking into my dreams as well. Offline evidence. Right. So there you go. Doesn't matter have the Wi-Fi on or off because they're still doing the frequencies. Right. Alright, I'll sign up for now.